and then just some margin and padding with a little bit of larger font size. I think the default is 14. I did 15, or I did 16. I did the same shade of gray for the border, and yeah, pretty straightforward. I don't want to cover that too much. One other thing I want to do on this page is remove this header. So there's nothing there, but the header bar is still actually there. You could tell that by everything aligning center, so everything's pushed down just a little bit. So we're going to go into off navigator, and just like we have in tab navigator, we have this navigation options. We have the same capability in the stack navigator. So we get past in basically the same exact thing, and we do header null. And we can see that header is no longer there, so it's just a lot cleaner. So just a few extra changes, and it just looks a lot nicer. And actually that yellow bar is good reference. So there is a line of code that we could use to get rid of this yellow bar. This one's just always going to pop up because we're using the debugger, so it's a little bit slower. So in order to get rid of that, we could just do stop debugging. And then you could also do like, I'll actually copy and paste it. So I'm using it in here. We could do console.disable yellow box. So console.disable yellow box equals to true. So no matter if we're getting errors or not, it just will never show the yellow box. So sometimes it gets annoying. It covers up the bottom tab navigator. But when we're developing, I like to disable that because sometimes the warnings are helpful. If it's a legit warning, you should probably fix it. The only part with the debugger is there's nothing really we do to fix it outside of just not use it. And sometimes we need to use it. So use that as much as you want, but for us, I'm gonna disable it for now. So we have our styling in place, but we want to add one more button to be able to actually log us in. We go back and forth between sign up and login, but we want to be able to like log into the actual home screen. So we're just gonna add one more touchable opacity. I'm gonna name it login. I'm actually going to remove the styles from this one, and then so on this page I'm going to create a temporary function called this.login. So we're not going to create too many functions like in the component itself, but for this page we're actually going to in the future. But for right now, all this button is going to do is go to the home page. And remember, we have access to navigation because it's in the root component. So this is Redux right here, and the next level down is navigation. So we're going to have access to this.props.navigation through every component since we're using React navigation in every component. So at first, I know that's a little bit like magic, but just keep in mind this.props.navigation is available on every page that is using React navigation, which for us is all of them. And then to navigate to an actual page, we have to pass in the component we want to use, and so we want to navigate to home. So home is the tab navigator. So let's see that in action. So if we just do login, okay, objects are not valid as return. Okay, so on the home screen, remember we changed our reducers to one single parent, and then the children are counter and user. So we didn't change that in the home screen, and we just set counter to state. So state is returning the entire global state. So we just want the counter one. So now this is only going to reference the counter, there we go, the counter item in the global state. So we don't want to pass in the entire thing. Soon we're gonna remove this because we don't need a counter, and we're just gonna reference user. but now you can see every time we reload the screen, it goes in straight to the login page, and there's no way to get back. So that's exactly how we want it to interact. We want the user to interact with our application. Right now, you don't need to pass in anything, so you could just do, okay, if this.props.user.email, okay, if that this.props.user.email. So this is saying if the user email exists, then log them in, but if not, don't log them in. So this is very basic functionality. We're not verifying anything, we're not verifying the password, but this is what we're going to leverage Firebase for, so that we could use Firebase to check, okay, check the database, does this user exist? Yes, then let them in. If not,